Right, so here's the Orc defensive force. We've got a vanguard, a battalion and a patrol detachment here for a total of 9 command points. In the battalion we've got Gurghal Waazghkil on the left and his big mech with shock attack gun, that's Bogrot Scartooth. And then 3 10-man boy squads. The front squad has got the big boss and the big shooter, stretching a license a little bit there just to make up the battalion detachment. And then we've got the secondary Warboss, Snotgit Flemtooth, I should say, and he's got 3 5-man knob squads, which makes up the vanguard. And then in the patrol detachment we've got the weird boy, which is represented by this boy here. Unfortunately we haven't got the model ready yet, and the pain boy. And then we've got 10 Gretchen, 2 10-man squads of boys, war bikers, and 2 killer cans. One's got a rocket launcher and the other one has I think that's a big shooter. It might be a Dakar gun, I'll have to check. Okay, so that is the Orc defensive force. Let's have a look at the Space Marines. Okay, here's the attacking Space Marine force. We've got a similar setup here, so we've got a vanguard, a battalion and a patrol detachment. So battalion is here. We've got Aldous Prearmis and in Cerebel D. He is the chaplain, so that's chaplain, captain, and 3 5-man tack squads, chainsword and flamer in each of those. And then for the patrol detachment, we've got captain in Gravis armour, Devastator squad on the right, and then 2 intercessor squads. And then for the vanguard, we've got librarian, Charos with a Reaver squad, and then 2 dreadnoughts over the back. So similar setup to the Orcs, 9 command points. Okay, so let's talk you through the battlefield and deployment and what we're doing. So we've set up for Hammer and Anvil just because it fits in with the narrative of this game. So we've got Orcs set up behind the defensive wall. This is 24 inches at this end, and then the centre part, which is another 24, and then the Space Marines are set up across this line here, which again is 24 inches from this edge of the table. So 6 objectives on the table: 2, 5, 4, 1, 6, and 3. Objectives in your home deployment zone are worth 1 point, the ones in the middle are worth 2 points, and the ones in the enemy deployment zone are worth 3 points, and those are scored at the end of the game. In terms of warlords, Aldous, the Terminator captain, he's the warlord for the Space Marines, and his warlord trait is Champion of Humanity, and he also has the relic, the Burning Blade, which is +2 strength, -5 AP for 1 damage. And then Gurghal, who's the Orc warlord, his warlord trait is brutal but cunning. And in terms of extra gubbins, he's got Brog's Buzz Bomb, which is a grenade weapon, does 3d6 hits at strength 5 and -1 AP. We've also got the psychic abilities for the Orc weird boy, who's just here. That is actually a normal boy, but he's classed as a weird boy today. He's got Smite and Fists of Gork. And then the librarian Terminator, who is just here, he's got Smite, Psychic Scourge, and Psychic Fortress. Victory conditions: if either warlord is slain, then the side that slays that warlord is declared the victor, regardless of how many command points, or sorry, victory points they have. In terms of deployment, all the Space Marines are out on the table apart from the Reavers and the chaplain, who will come in through tactical deployment later in the game. And in terms of the Orcs, everything is on the table. So we've got the 2 killer cans and the war bikes at the gate, which is there, ready to move and advance. Squad of boys behind, knobs on the wall, Gretchen on the wall, shock attack gun on the wall behind cover, Gurghal's here, and the rest of the boys just lined up across the back here just to restrict any advanced deployment that may occur. Space Marines wise, 2 dreadnoughts, 2 intercessor squads and the Terminator captain, and then librarian, Gravis captain, 3 tactical squads, and finally the Devastators over on the far side there. So that's it for setup. We're pretty much ready to go. So we're just going to roll for first turn. In terms of deployment, the Space Marines finish deploying first, so the Orcs get to seize, which they do not. So it'll be Space Marines turn number 1. So Space Marines movement all complete. The dreadnoughts and the intercessors and the Terminator captain, basically everything has moved forwards. Normal move, either 5 or 6 inches depending on what they are. The Devastators have stayed put, got quite good range on the las cannons from there, so potentially got some targets up on the wall. We'll have a look at that shortly. In terms of psychic, it's a psychic turn next. There is nothing in range. All 3 of the powers have got a range of 18 inches, and we're about 20 to 22 inches out currently. So no psychic phase. Moving straight into the shooting phase next. Right, end of the Space Marine shoot phase, and in terms of damage, they've taken a wound off of one of the Warbikers on a las cannon shot through the gateway, thinned out the boys on the wall quite a bit, so I think there's 9 of those. Yeah, 9 of those have been taken out, and then the Devastators over on this side have managed to get a wound off of the shock attack gun up on the wall there. So not bad, not a bad shoot phase for the Space Marines. Too far away to do any charging, too far away therefore to do any fighting, so no morale. So that is the end of Space Marines turn 1. Going to be moving into Orcs turn 1 in a moment. So, end of the Orcs' first movement phase. Pretty much everything that you can see this side of the wall has advanced. Starting with the knobs, 5-inch movement, got them to the bottom of the wall, and then a 5-inch advance. Advance on the Warbikers, got them just to the other side of the barricades. Advance on the killer cans, and then an advance on the Warboss and the boys squad, with the pain boy just tucked on the back. They didn't quite all make it through the gateway, but on their way forwards. Everything else has stayed put, so we've got the boys across the back with Gurghal, and then the Gretchen and the shock attack gun up on the wall there. So that's it for the end of Orc movement. I do apologise. Going into Psychic next. Going to see if we've got anything in range. Right, so there's nothing in range. Smite is 18 inches. The closest unit is this Dreadnought, which is 19 inches away. So no psychic powers for the Orcs this turn. So now moving into the shooting phase. The end of the Orc shooting phase. So the Orcs have managed to take out 1 intercessor and 1 wound off of these intercessors. The shock attack gun took out this Dreadnought in one go, didn't explode, but on a strength 7, managed to do 9 wounds, so pretty good shooting from the shock attack gun. Everything else either missed or failed to wound. So that's the end of the orc shooting phase. Moving now to the charge phase, and we're thinking the only charge is going to be the warbikers. By the looks of it, everything else is too far away this turn, so we're just going to go away and roll for that, and then we'll come back. So pretty effective from the dreadnought. Las cannon caused 5 wounds, which took out the 2 standard warbikers and took the warboss down to 1 wound. Failed his charge roll, but then on a command point reroll succeeded, so made it into combat with the dreadnought, but that cost 1 command point. So going through those fairly steadily at the moment. So that's it for the charge phase. So fight phase next, which is literally this combat here. So we're going to resolve that and then see where we are. So successful combat for the dreadnought, but the warbiker boss has been dispatched after receiving 5 wounds. He couldn't save because of the minus AP. So that is first strike to the Space Marines, and that is the end of Orc turn 1. So we're going to be moving into Space Marines turn 2 coming up next. Right, so turn 2 movement for the Space Marines and the intercessors, and all these kind of front running units have moved forward slightly. Dreadnoughts on the objective, and then the tacticals and the Gravis captain have moved forwards onto this objective to get clear line of sight onto the knobs. We're looking at bringing in some reserves. We've got the chaplain and the Reaver squad in reserve. However, currently Space Marines seem to be holding their own, so we're going to hold off on that possibly until next turn and see where we are. So that's it for movement. Psychic coming up next. So Librarian cast Smite, which goes off on a 5 on the one of the killer cans. Rolled an 11 for d6 mortal wounds, scoring 3 mortal wounds. Rolled for Smite again, which would have gone off on a 6, but actually again rolled an 11 on the other killer can. D6 mortal wounds, rolled 3 again. So both killer cans down to 2 wounds each. The Wid boy's too far away to try and deny. So that is a very successful psychic phase, and now moving into shooting. Wow, end of the Space Marine shooting phase for turn 2, and both killer cans are now down to 1 wound each. Overwhelming firepower from these intercessors and Space Marines and the captain and librarian. And on this side, only 3 knobs left from firepower from these Space Marines and the Devastators over the back here. So not too bad from Space Marines. That's the end of the shooting phase. So we're now looking at the charge phase. Distance wise, there's not anything that can charge. So to get in, the dreadnought would have to get over these obstacles, which would add 3 inches to the move, and the intercessors are too far away. So no charges, therefore no fight phase, and no morale required. So that's the end of Space Marines turn number 2. Moving into Orcs turn 2 next. Right, so Orc movement is complete. The boys at the back of the table have moved forwards onto the objectives, just to try and preempt the deep strike of the Reavers or the Chaplain. The Gretchen have stayed where they are, as has Gurghal. However, the boys and the killer cans and the plane boy have all advanced forwards, including the other Warboss, just to get into relatively easy charge range. So there's a big blob of boys just sitting outside the gateway here. 3 knobs left in this squad, and we've still got the weird boy up on the wall. So that's the end of Orc movement. Orc Psychic next. Right, Orc Psychic phase over. The weird boy cast Smite on the Dreadnought and took off 1 mortal wound, and then cast Smite again, which went off on a 7 and caused a further 3 mortal wounds. So down to 4 wounds for the Dreadnought. That's it for Psychic for Orcs. So shooting phase coming next. Into the Orc shooting phase, and the Dreadnought has gone through firepower from the shock attack gun. Again, did exactly 4 wounds, didn't explode. We've lost another intercessor from one of the squads here. However, no other damage sustained from the Space Marines. That's the end of the Orc shooting phase. It's Orc charges next. Okay, so Orcs charge phase is over. Killer Cans made it in. No damage by Overwatch from the intercessors. The Warboss charged in. Again, no damage from the Overwatch. And then that freed up the boys to charge in. And then finally the Pain Boy just on the back here, just tagged on just for the ride. So big blob of Orc boys here in combat with 3 intercessors currently. And a Killer Can over here in combat with a team of 5 intercessors. So that's it for charges. Fight phase coming up. Right, so the end of the Orc fight phase, and the Warboss has taken out the remainder of the intercessor squad that he charged into. Did 11 wounds. There were 7 wounds left in that unit, so they're gone, and he's consolidated into the 2nd intercessor squad, ready for combat in the next turn. That's left the boys high and dry a little bit, so they're still within 6 inches, so they still get to move and advance and then charge in the next turn. But the Killer Can that was here, that was on 1 wound, was actually destroyed by this unit of intercessors. Didn't explode. That's the end of the fight phase. No morale to take, so that's the end of Orcs turn 2. So moving now into Space Marines turn 3. So Librarian cast Smite on the Warboss, took off a wound, taking him down to 5, and then cast Smite again and rolled a 10. Another D3 mortal wounds for 3, so Warboss is now down to 2 wounds. That's it for the Psychic phase, so it's shooting phase next for the Space Marines. End of Space Marine shooting for turn number 3. Start at the back here. The Reaver squad have taken out 3 of these boys, and the Chaplain has taken out 1, I believe, of these boys. The Killer Can here is down to 1 wound, although it might have been, I think it was on 1 wound already anyway, but we've thinned out the boys in this squad quite a lot through firepower from the tacticals and the 2 commander units here. The knobs in the middle, literally 1 wound left there, firepower from these tacticals and flamers and the Gravis Captain, and then the las cannons on the Space Marines very right hand side have finally taken out the shock attack guns, so no more random strength shots from that unit. That's the end of shooting, so we're now moving into charges for the Space Marines. So charge phase for the Space Marines is over. Literally we've charged the tactical squad into the boys, lost 1 Space Marine to Overwatch. The Captain has charged into the Warboss, and the Librarian has tagged on to the back of this charge into these boys. Space Marines over in the middle, staying where they are at the moment. Still got some good targets in range, and obviously nothing going on over the back there. These guys are too far away this turn, so we'll look at moving them into charge range for next turn. And that's about it. So now fight phase for Space Marines. End of the fight phase. Warboss has been dispatched. Intercessors have consolidated forwards. 2 Space Marines gone. The Librarian's down to 3 wounds, however the boys have lost quite a few of their number. In terms of morale, they're now down to 7 against a leadership of 8, I believe. Sorry, a leadership of 7, so they're still relying on mob rule to pass their morale tests. That's the end of the Space Marines phase, sorry, Space Marines turn, moving into Orcs turn 3 next. And let's see if they can salvage something from this debacle that's going on in the middle. Orc movement complete, so the final knob and the killer can, 1 wound left each on a mad, crazy suicide mission into the Marines over on this flank. A little bit of movement from the Pain Boy, who's just moved up to help protect the boys in the middle. We've got boys moving over towards the Reavers over in this corner, and then boys moving over towards the Chaplain in the far corner. And the Gretchen have just daisy chained down to cover that objective just to try and get a point. That's it for movement for the Orcs, so it's psychic phase next. Right, so Orcs psychic phase is over. The Weird Boy up on the battlements here managed to cast 2 successful smites, 1 on an 8 and 1 on a 9, sorry. Caused 3 mortal wounds on the tacticals here, so the sergeant is down to 1 and the final 2 Marines are dead, and then 2 mortal wounds caused on the intercessors, so 1 of those is now dead as well. That's the end of psychic, so now looking at shooting for the Orcs. Orc shooting phase is over. Missed here, no hits. 2 hits here but no wounds. Front rank of the Gretchen at 12 inches failed to hit the Space Marine on the side there just by the pipes. This knob managed to take out 1 of the Space Marines here, but the Dagger gun on the killer can missed. That is it for shooting, so moving into charges next for the Orcs. So charge phase complete. Both the knob and the killer can were taken out by Overwatch from the Space Marines. We've got combat going on here, obviously, which we'll move into in a minute. Successful charge with no losses to Overwatch here, and then successful charge but 2 lost to Overwatch over here. So that's it for charges. Fight phase coming up next. Right, so at the end of the fight phase for the Orcs, they've managed to take a wound off of the Chaplain, but 4 of these Orcs are now destroyed. Bit of good news for them, however, they've managed to take out the last of the tacticals and the Librarian from the centre here, even though they've lost another couple of their number. So that's a bit of a result in terms of the delivery of mortal wounds. And finally, over in the back corner, Reavers have lost a wound, but again have managed to take out 4 of the boys from this squad. So backline for the Orcs is looking a little bit weak and a little bit challenged. Long-range weaponry is pretty much non-existent, apart from 1 Dagger gun, which is in this unit just here. There is a Dagger gun over the back here somewhere as well, I believe, but currently has no line of sight. So that's the end of the Orcs' turn. Just going to roll morale for the 2 units over the back there, and then we'll move into Space Marines turn number 4. So after morale, this unit were fine, no problems there. However, this unit, 2 of those boys have fled the field, failed by 2 points on their morale check, and they're too far away from Gurghal to gain from his aura. So looking pretty ropey over there. That's it for the Orcs. So this is Space Marines turn number 4. Space Marines movement phase. So the tactical squad over on objective 4 have moved forwards to get into flamer and bolt gun range of the Gretchen. The other tactical squad and the Gravis captain have moved round towards objective number 1 with a view to piling into, or charging I should say, into the back of this group of boys. The heavies have moved. There's not anything that they can shoot at really, as they were in sort of behind line of sight to hit anything. So we're going to start moving those up to try and get them into range of more orcs. And then the intercessors and the captain in Terminator armor have just reset themselves, ready to charge in to here. So that's it for movement for Space Marines. There is no psychic phase, so we're moving into the shooting phase next. So shooting phase is over. The Space Marines with the flamer and then the bolt pistol and 3 bolters have managed to take out 5 of the Gretchen who are on the front here. And the other ones are kind of in cover now anyway, but that's all of that unit shot, so just would have liked to have got that top one there, but never mind. In terms of this tactical squad, shot into the back of this unit of boys and took out 2, and then the intercessors and the captain shot into the unit again and took out another 3, I think. Anyway, there's the Daka gun and the boss left in that squad, and the pain boy obviously here, who is quite handy in hand-to-hand combat, so we'll see how he does. That's it for shooting, so it's charge phase next for the Space Marines. So nice and easy on the charge phase, no ranged weapons on the pain boy, so this squad and the Gravis captain have made it in no problems at all. And then Overwatch on the intercessors failed, and then the captain charged in also, so should be able to get rid of these orcs fairly rapidly, hopefully. So moving into the fight phase next, and we're going to start over the back here with the chaplain and this lonely boy. Successful fight phase there from the Space Marines perspective at least. So the last boy gone from the chaplain, this squad gone from the Reavers, however they have lost 2 of their number. The pain boy fell to some punches from the Boltstorm Gauntlet Power Fist on the Gravis captain, and then these boys fell to there was 3 wounds left in that squad, and the intercessors scored 4. They saved 1, but that was enough wounds just to drop them down to 0. So on the outside of the wall now there are no orcs, so all combat now will be focused on getting to Gurghal from the Space Marines perspective. That's turn 4 over for the orcs, moving into turn 5 for the Space Marines. Right, movement phase is over. Reavers have moved standard movement towards this group of boys. Chaplain, standard move to get a little bit closer to this objective. And then we've got advances here, and these have all advanced. Captain here has done a standard move, and then the heavies have advanced because again there's not really much they can shoot at. So in terms of models that can shoot, it's literally the captain with his bolts, with his Stormbolter, these Reavers with their pistols, and the Stormbolter on the chaplain. So it's going to be a very quick shooting phase. We're going to do that now, and then we'll move into the charges. Right, so shooting phase is over. Stormbolter on the captain took off a wound from the weird boy. 1 orc gone from this squad through fire from the bolt pistols on the Reavers. Shock of the game, this Stormbolter fired 4 rapid fire shots into these Gretchen, scored 4 wounds. Gretchen need to roll 4 6s, and guess what? Look at that. Wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. So that's the end of shooting for Space Marines. Charges are coming right up. Charge phase over, literally 1 charge declared, which was the Reavers. They've made it into this squad here, no damage through Overwatch. So that is it. Actually, tell a lie. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and charge the chaplain into these grots. Let's see what happens. So 5 shots of Overwatch. Daka. Okay, so 1 hit. These are strength 3 versus toughness 4, so it's a 5 to wound. No wound. Okay, and then the charge is 5, so I don't think that's enough. Yeah, nowhere near enough, so that's okay, not a problem. So that's it. Moving into the fight phase, which is literally going to be this combat right here. There we go, that's the power of the Orc. End of the fight phase for Space Marines, and we've got a Sergeant left on 2 wounds. He did take out 1 boy, or sorry, that squad did take out 1 boy, but the Power Claw on the boss basically was pretty devastating, so that's not looking too good. So that's it for the Space Marines turn 5. So moving into Orcs turn 5 next. So Orcs movement. The Warboss is just going to drop down to there, just so that he's just outside of an inch. These guys should have consolidated, so we're going to do that now. Just get them a bit more organised. There we go. So Warboss is on the verge of charging in there. We've also done an advance on the Gretchen, and they've managed to hurl themselves off the side of the wall and are now down here with a view to advancing in the next turn, if there is one, across to objective 4 in pursuit of points. So that's it for movement. Psychic phase next. Let's see what the weird boy can do. So the weird boys had quite a successful phase, managed to take a wound off of the Terminator captain, but also has cast Fists of Gork onto Gurghal, who is going to be in combat in the next sort of few minutes. So that will give him a bit of a boost, just so that you know what that is. That's a warp charge value of 6, and it gives a character within 12 inches +2 to strength and attacks until the start of the next psychic phase. So that should come in handy, even though he's only got 2 wounds to remove, but that might help just to get rid of that Reaver. So not too bad. So now moving into the shooting phase for the Orcs. So all the Orcs have shot. The Grots took some shots at this squad, failed to cause any wounds, and then Gurghal with his big gun, 6 shots at strength 5, failed to do any wounds to the chaplain. So shooting is over. It's charges next. So only 1 charge, which was Gurghal, who's charged into this combat. So he's successfully in. Got to remember Fists of Gork on him for combat, which is coming up now. So we're going to resolve that, see if there's any morale, and then we'll be moving into turn 6 territory. So let's see where we get to. Right, that's the end of turn 5 fight phase. The final wounds on the Reaver were taken out by this group here, 1 from the boys and then the other one from the Warboss Gurghal. Didn't actually need Fists of Gork. His Power Claw is that powerful that it's it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that you're going to get wiped out. So they've just consolidated towards the chaplain over on the far side. So that is the end of turn 5. So we're now going to see if the game continues. So on a 4, 5 or 6 we'll go into turn 6. Okay, and that is disappointing. Okay, so that is the end of the game. We're going to just have a look at where we are from a victory points list, but I think a victory points standpoint, but I think bearing in mind the victory condition was slay the warlord, that hasn't happened, so it's going to be a minor victory to the Orcs, who may be on that objective. Let's just have a look. Quite literally within a few millimeters they are on that objective, so it's 1-0 to the Orcs. However, slay the warlord being the victory condition, both warlords are still alive, so that means we are going into game number 5. This game should have been a decider in terms of killing each warlord. Both warlords are still alive, so that means game 5 will now be the decider. We're going to assume that Gurghal escapes and that Aldous Prearmis, who was pursuing him across the face of this planet, has withdrawn back to Galside's Fury, and we'll look at the next engagement in terms of what that means for both sides. So thanks for watching. That's the end of the game, and we'll see you all next time. Yeah, so just a little bit of a rewind, forgetting that the Space Marines actually got first strike way back at the beginning. Actually, that means they also have 1 victory point, so so it's actually 1 victory point each, so it is a dead heat for this game, so that makes the stakes even higher for game 5. So yeah, an interesting turnout. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, and add any comments down below if you feel the need. See you soon.